HR Expo Africa, HREA Summit. This year's theme is the art of employee engagement.
So today I'm going to be talking about something I'm very passionate about, and it's the performance review dilemma. Continue, change, or eliminate. And I'm going to be expanding your worldview around the world of performance management. Oftentimes when we hear performance management, the first thing that comes to mind is performance appraisal. And performance appraisal is just a tiny subset of performance management. Performance management starts all the way from your job evaluation. So you thinking about the job description. How are you going to measure the person who is going to be doing the job? What are the key deliverables for that person? How do you engage him? How do you motivate him? How do you reward him? So it's all from your recruitment all the way through to retirement. And that's what your performance management is all about. But I have another interesting twist in which I'll be talking about. The conflict between the expectation of business owners and the expectation of the business executors. And we will touch on all of these things in the course of our conversation today. So let's think about this. What's the essence of business? And as an alumni of P&G, I just want to share something with you. Why are businesses set up? And borrowing from Procter & Gamble, this is the purpose of the organization. It says, we will provide branded products and services of superior quality and value that improve the lives of the world's consumers. That is the reason why the organization is in existence. But you then want to probe a little more to understanding why do they want to do this? Because every organization is not just out there simply for the purpose of saying, I want to make money. It is to meet a particular need. It is in meeting that need that you then earn a particular reward. So why are they then doing that? And that's why I put this why in red. It said, as a result, which is part of, their purpose statement, consumers will reward us with what? Leadership sales. What's next? Profit. What's next? Value creation. Does it not interest you that an organization that has always been consistently ranked first or second in people leadership development, because it's always between P&G and then General Electric, it's always the two organizations winning the first. And, GE will always boast itself that most of the CEOs across the world, Fortune 500 companies, are ex-GE. And then P&G will say, we supply them to you. Because truly, if you go back to all their CEOs, they are all alumni of those two organizations. He now says, when we are able to achieve this, it tells you the minds of the business owner, then and only then, helping us then to achieve other incidental aims. And what are those other incidental aims? Aligning our people, our shareholders, and the communities in which we live and work to what? To prosper. Very many times I've gotten into conversation where people discuss, should HR be at management table and all of that. And I sat before my country manager then, Stanislav Vesera, and I said, can these people resume an hour later and all of that? And he was like, what is it, by the way? I gave him a NECA report to say, at that time, most career women have to quit their jobs after the first or second child because Nigeria does not yet have support structures for working women. And so think about the investment we've made into our women. So I gave him statistics. 45% of our total employee population were ladies. They were all within the ages of 22 and 27. And he said, what's the problem? I said, I'm a Nigerian. Next year is going to be a baby boom. And when it happens, what's next? This is what NECA has said. So how much have we invested in people over the years? You mean all of that will go down the drain? And I mentioned the name of one of the marketing directors now, who we have spent a lot on. She was working on a $15 million project. So I can imagine she leaves. Interestingly, this particular lady had her first child, a girl, and then her second child happened to be a triplet. So if we did not have structures in place, what would have happened? She would have left the organization. And that means all the money we've spent in training her has gone down the drain. Now I put it to him in actual naira and kobo values by dividing the salaries of these people on a per hour basis. Then I said, look, the first 1 hour, when they get to work, what are they doing? Hello, mommy, cheshen for me, has he eaten? And no, it's not the naan, it is this one. The first 1 hour, that's what you guys talk about at work. And then the last 1 hour of the day, what are you guys thinking about? Everything they are saying in meeting, agreed. And let's go. I have to go and pick my baby at the crèche. That's what you're thinking about. So I said, let's latch in emotionally to the employee population by telling them, as an organization that cares about the things that matters most to your heart, we are giving you this time. And that's where we begin to lock in employee engagements, because they now feel that you are not so much as to what you get from me, but you also care about what matters the most to me. But then there are other realities we need to live with. Performance management in itself, what is it all about? In summary, I'm not going to bore you with textbook definitions. It's all about aligning employee skills, the task at hand, and the business goals. Why the business was established: leadership, sales, profit, and value creation. And if we are not able to marry those two, then we don't get a seat on the table. And so when you get there, you are speaking business language to the people. And in speaking business language with those of them there, then you move on. I remember every interview I do, they ask me, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge on this job? I said, my biggest challenge is reconciling management expectations with the people expectations, because they are always at conflict. And they ask me, which strategy are you going to deploy? I said, I don't know. Yeah, I tell them I don't know. And they ask me, how do you mean? I said, until I get in there, before I know what to do. You don't shoot your bullets ahead of the war. You get in there to know what the opposition has. So it's when I come in, I understand the culture, the systems, the people, the diversity we have. And then I can come back with what? Proposals based on my expertise, experience also, and how I can customize that into your environment. So I can't make promises in advance now. And that's the fact, that's the world we live in. So the success of every organization is hinged on how we are able to get the larger proportion of our employees to be meeting the expectation of the business owners. And then in return, we hold the business owners accountable for delivering on people motivation needs. So, how then do we do that? Or in other words, what does it mean? Aligning our vertical integration, which is business, team, individuals, objective, with what? Different aspects of human resources in a coherent approach to the management and development of our employees. And that gives us our overall performance management. Now, moving on quickly, it also helps to bridge the gap, like I said, between employees and then the motivation needs. These are the needs of the businesses, and then the needs of the employees come down here. And then it brings us to a dilemma of which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Should we motivate people first so that we get results? Or we get results before we motivate the people? Now, I'm going to wear another hat. Forget the fact that I ever told you I'm an HR professional. I'm also a business owner. I run a school, and I kid you not, I invested 70 million naira in starting off. I had 7 pupils when the school opened. And guess who the 7 pupils were? My 2 children, my sister's children, 2 of them, my elder brother's daughter, and one of the teachers' 2 children. 3 classes were running, and I had 11 teachers. Now, tell me something. What's going to be at the back of my mind? How do we get more pupils? Because I was paying 15,000 naira more than the average salary of teachers within that area. And it was a strategy for me to say, you know what? I don't want teachers who leave every session. So I created that. I said, okay, we're going to do pension scheme. We're going to do HMO. How many schools do that? I didn't think about the cost then. So now, come to think about it, I have an HR manager who then comes to sit down with me and he wants to have a conversation. What do you think I'll be interested in listening to? How do we get more pupils? And then he comes to me and says, Oga, employee motivation. I'm like, motivation about what is that? I mean, because I pay you people's salary, do you think the salary comes from here? It comes from other areas. And HR managers need to be sensitive to that. Oftentimes, we get very critical of business leaders. It is until you wear their shoes and you find out that every day they are checking their bank statement, and 26, there are some dates that are critical to business owners because they know that on the 26th, salary must go. On the 21st, they must pay bank charges. They must pay all of those things. And then they get another letter again, LIRS. Kilo de go. What is it? What have we done again? Those are the dynamics at play. And so how well do you then balance these emotions with the frustrations that employees come up with, all box up into your performance management? Now, let's look at this quickly. There are two types of commitments you get from your employees. One is the rational commitment, and that talks about the extent to which the employees believe their managers, teams, or organization have their self-interest at mind, usually expressed from the financial, developmental, or professional approach. How much money do they pay us? How committed are they to our learning and development? What career objectives can I achieve here? The other one is the emotional commitment. And I kid you not, I got a lot of that in P&G. Many guys were offered jobs from Shell and they were not going to move. Till today, my wife can't come home with another brand of diaper. I take it personal. I left P&G almost a decade ago. You can't buy another detergent in the house. It must be Ariel. It's already part of us. Because we so believed in the product, in the designs of the company. You can tell me it's expensive, but that my products don't work? No, I take it personal. That is the emotional commitment. And remember, they're locking it in with the sense that, oh, they just have a new child. And then you're saying, we are giving you this, we're giving you that. We're not just saying, okay, just to take care of your baby, we give you 1 hour. It's different from saying, as an organization that cares, after what matters most to your heart. It goes a long way. And all of that focuses on these 4 focal points: your day-to-day work, the team you work with, your direct manager, vis-a-vis also the organization. And then that comes to the output of your commitment, the discretionary effort, and then your intention to stay. Determines your performance and then whether the organization can retain you. There's always that question of what if we invest so much in people, others will come and poach them and then they go. And the other question is, what if we don't invest and they stay? So we're going to be what? A team or a leader over mediocres. The most important thing is keep investing in your people. Ultimately, it's going to reward you because you are building a culture. Now, you are all looking at performance appraisal, but I'm trying to show you the step-by-step approach into it. So I'll give you a small example and then we'll move on quickly. You want to hire a maid in the house. When they bring a maid to your house, she's done the medicals. What's the first thing you guys think of doing? And I'm not going to be gender chauvinistic here. So they brought a maid to your house. The first thing you want to show her is her room. After her room, then you show her the what? The kitchen, which is the next most important place. And then you begin to show her the various other rooms. This is the children's room. This is the guard's room. This is your guard's room. Or no account should you ever enter. If you enter in that, this is that room. This is, you show them everywhere. They all move around. But then many of us never tell them what the result looks like. You just say in the morning you need to wake up early enough and get the children ready for school. That's a vague statement. What does getting them ready for school mean? Meaning that what? They should be ready when the school bus gets there, or they should be ready ahead of the school bus. Because when you are managing or measuring people's performance, it must be based on what? Clearly itemized targets. So you now have a maid who then comes back to you to say, Madam, good afternoon, ma, welcome, ma. I've just done an audit of the house, and I found out that we have 2 weeks supply of salt left, 1 week supply of dodo left, 1 week supply of this left, and then she gives you a detailed analysis of all of that, and then tells you that, oh, because of the festive season coming on, prices will increase. Usually over the years you have tracked it, it's about 15 to 20% increase in prices. So if we buy now, it will help us. I have done the pricing around the community. This is how much they sell it. But if we should go to Okeari market, we will even get a further discount. All you can do for me is I can go to the market ahead while your driver takes you to the office. On his way back, I will have bought those things. He can just come there, pick me, and then we bring it back home. He can come back quickly and pick you up. When I described that to a friend, he said, he said, that's already a white. Now, what does that tell you? That is what somebody who is far exceeding expectation. And what then do you do as a person? You then pick such a maid, invest a lot more in her. She graduates from being a maid to being what? A personal assistant. And that is what performance management is also all about. And that's why I belong to the school of thought when we say, is it the chicken or the egg that comes first? We hire you for your potentials. Show us what your potentials can do. When you then do, we then begin to identify other future potentials in you. And that brings us to what? Investing a lot more in the employee. And that's how this whole thing works. So it's not that you have not yet delivered anything and you are screaming and asking me for yet more. That's where we have a dilemma. Now, moving on quickly also, why then do we have all of our performance management system? Number one, aligning our strategic goals. I've talked about that. Driving employee development. I sent my teachers on the training recently. It's a Montessori training. And I got a feedback. I got a call from the school. Somebody saying, oh, sir, we decided that maybe 5 of us can go and then they'll come back and give us feedback. I immediately organized a conference call. I blasted their sensibilities. I said, look, even if it's for selfish reason, you should be able to focus on your own continuous development. Because it continues to improve on your marketability. Your market what? It is what you have now you can sell to the next potential employer of labor to say, this is what I do. This is what I have capacity to do. I told you I'm the group HR director for my company. I didn't tell you I also sit as the head of legal. I didn't tell you I also sit as the head of corporate communications for the organization. All of this is coming into a what? A corporate, a COO kind of a responsibility. Does it mean they are paying me for all those things? No. But guess what? Somebody called me up. I was at a house sometime that the group managing director of one of these banks wanted to see me. I'm like, seriously? What for? He said, can you come by 2 o'clock today? I was shocked. He said, we just want to have a conversation with you. We got your contact somewhere. So from Laos, I said, look, I'm not properly dressed. He said, please go and dress up. Thankfully, my wife works at Loot, and I have some of my clothes there. So I drove into Loot, changed from there, and then drove down there. And when I got there, I just met the GMD. And he started talking to me about some things they wanted to do, a company they wanted to start up. And he was just talking about my experience in general. So when I gave him all of this, he said, interesting, Victor, we need to take this conversation further. I'm like, what is it all about? Don't worry, we will tell you. What has he helped me for? But when I was taking on those added responsibilities, what were people saying? You too like work, you oversabi. Now see, now only I too know ITK, CM. It is what you have you are able to sell. But as HR professionals, you need to open the minds of your people to seeing that it goes beyond what I'm able to get now. It's what I'm able to do going forward. Because when we hire you, we don't hire you just for that job. It's for a what? A career. And the workplace is consistently what? Evolving. We talk about the intrusion of AI into the world of work today. And there are so many roles that we what? That we fizzle out in no time. So how prepared are they for those opportunities? So we want to drive the development of your employee. The other thing we want to do is engage our employees so that their overall satisfaction is improved on. Look at the analysis the speaker gave us the other time. He entered the bank, and when they introduced himself, the first thing they were doing is what? Please, take my CV. This place is hellfire, and all of that kind of. You can't. I was doing a consulting for one of these banks, and they asked me a question why their employer branding and all of that is not working. I said, your biggest branding material is customer experience. No matter what you tell people, no matter how creative your ad is, by the time they come into your banking hall, what they experience is what sells you. I read a research that says for every bad experience, every human being will remember for the next 19 years. 19 years. But for a good experience, he said they may not even remember to tell somebody. Until maybe you ask them, then they speak very well of you. Today, you want to make a clothes. I like your dress, so who made it for you? We still refer to what? Words of mouth. It goes a long way to be able to help us. So if our business wants to grow, we need to ensure that we have engaged employees who can give the right experience to people. And that's why it's critical. The other thing is encourages performance conversations, feedback, and recognition. I'll talk about that in another slide. And then it ultimately improves on your bottom line. Because why we are in business is for what? Leadership skills, profitability, and creating values. Now, this is one performance appraisal experience, the last mile approach. And this is what we don't want to encourage. And what does the last mile approach mean? This is the road, it's a one-way. Rather than last mile stand there and tell you it's a one-way, they will hide there. Once you're, I catch them. Many line managers and organizations do same. But when you are doing all of that, what are you causing? The company has already lost money. And that's why when I show you the trend now with respect to performance appraisal vis-a-vis performance management, you understand what we're talking about. You don't wait for the end of the year or even mid-year before you provide feedback. And please, let's define feedback properly. In our local palace, we say feedback means criticism. All the bad things you've done. Feedback is simply data. That is all it is. You've done great. You've done not so great. You've done something fantastic. You've done something they are not proud to report. Data, analysis. And off the back of that feedback, you can then come up with inferences or what needs to be done better. A recent Institute for Corporate Productivity study shows that 2/3 of surveyed organizations have inefficient performance management systems. Some of us do one-on-one, some of us do balance scorecard, 360 degrees and all of that. They all have their merits and demerits. And one thing I have come to understand in the School of Management is this. It is never possible for you to have a perfect system of human administration anywhere. What we consistently do is that what? We are able to improve on what we have now based on what? Certain gaps we've identified. In the next year, we will see some other gaps, and then we continue to try to see how to plug them in. But, like she mentioned, that self-awareness is what? Is critical. The fact that we are aware that, look, we are not where we ought to be. And like I was taught in Proctor, there's always the rule of 3-to-1. What is the 3-to-1? 3 great things about yourself must be itemized, and 1 not so great thing about you, because you cannot focus on improving more than 1 thing at a time. So if your gap area is in effective business writing, focus on it. They may have identified 3 or 4 areas, but just pick which is the most critical. This one now, and then I focus on it. And then the organization works with you on delivering on that. Now, the organizations that have processes perform a lot better than organizations that do not have processes rather. But in all of these, people still talk about the performance management process as not being totally satisfactory. And so, what is the way forward? Number 1, eliminating the annual performance review altogether in favor of more regular real-time feedback. GE, the Big 4 consulting, have all migrated into this system. And what does this mean? At the beginning of the year, you all have your performance measures clearly spelled out. For those of you who use balance scorecard, you have the 4 processes, right? Your financial value goals, your customer service, your process improvement, and then your learning and development. And I evolved with another one, which I called others. Because for my organization, I modified that thing and I created a fifth one called others. And what's the others? It's something I borrowed from my P&G days, where we say other building the business or building the organization activity outside of your call of duty. So I'm in HR. I'm an organization, we do business with a lot of FMCG. And I know the country manager of one of the FMCGs who used to be my colleague in Procter. So I spoke to him to what? To come do business with us. And I chased this guy. He could get almost 5 calls from me in a day. Every social media platform, I dropped a message with him until he was able to say, you know what, Victor, I give up. Let's meet at Radisson Blu. And we struck a business deal there. We're going into joint venture manufacturing, and then we are going into distribution. Big multi-millionaire business. Am I in business development? But when I was writing my own performance appraisal, it went under others. Because it's not possible for me to immediately quantify them in financial terms, to quantify them in process improvement terms. But there were other things that I have done that I should be rewarded based on. And why did I put it there? So 5 years down the line, if I told my chairman that, sir, I want to be the MD of this company, I'm already doing business development. I already have people management capabilities. I'm already doing like a corporate services function. Will he doubt the capability to do such? And even if it is not him, it may be somebody else. Now, when we have all of those things, we are talking every day. And what it means is that what? You are not waiting for the end of the first quarter to give the person how he has fared or performed within that quarter. You are giving him on a daily basis, because when you break down the KPIs, you must also give them what? Activities that should be carried out within specific timelines. So this is the key goal. What activities does he or she need to engage in to be able to deliver on those things? Within what timeline? What does success look like? And after doing all of those things, you are tracking. So on a week-by-week basis, the person is receiving feedback and is also able to improve on himself, so that you are not waiting until after you have lost money at the end of the financial year before you now start doing an appraisal. It's crying after spilled milk. We can only then hope for the future. And that's what people are moving to. The second one is removing rating system that cause competition amongst employees. For crying out loud, we have different KPIs, don't we? Measure me against my performance. Measure me against the expectation that you have for me. You don't need to now say, okay, now you have performed 100% against your expectation. You have performed 100% against your expectation. There must be a first ranking. So in the first ranking, she is first, you are second. What happens to the motivation of that person? You are beginning to treat them like spanners and screwdrivers, because people have emotions and egos in them. But when you look at him as an individual, what has he done? What has she done against her own measure? You are first in your own class, or you are second in your own class, because you have met what? 80% of your expectations. This way, employees feel valued, appreciated, or they can then take up the challenge. Like I was in one of the banks during one of those sessions, and I talked about, agreeing goals and targets. And I said, when you agree goals and targets, it doesn't mean you are going to reduce the target for those people, but you are helping them to be able to key into the overall goal of the company. So why are we doing 1 billion this year? Because when we do 1 billion this year, it will help us to be able to achieve A, B, C, D, E. And in return, this is what is in it for employees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it creates these other opportunities. Expansion, new business head. It comes from amongst you all. By the time you call your PSC for one-on-one, he will be the one to be saying, Oga, look, I'm on track. Or to tell you, Oga, because when they go for all these MPRs, for those of you who might have worked in the banks before, when they are making their presentation, once he finishes his presentation, he will look at his colleagues. Me a survivor, now your turn now. There is no emotional attachment to the old tag. I go kill myself. I cannot come and go and die now. I've done what I should do. But when they see that it is jointly owned by us, there's this analysis I give of you moving a house. So you live in Lekki, you are trying to convince your wife, let's move to Bagada. And she's like, no, will I now be crossing the bridge every day? And then you say, come, let's go. As you are driving into Bagada, she sees all those estates, a branch of your church, very big. That nice house is here. It's a wonderful neighborhood and all of that. And then you show her the house. You say, look, here, we are only going to pay a rent of 2.5 million naira per annum. You know that's our house in Lekki. We can rent it out for 6-7 million naira per annum. Whatever we get from the rent there, we use it to pay the house rent here. And for service charge and all of those things, this place, we can create solar inverters here. We have our own electricity. The generator is just going to be a small thing. The security man there will always be doing it. So that takes care of all of the service charge, so we don't have to do anything. And then by the time you convince her with all of those things, the woman you've been begging to say, let's move before, by the time you get to office on Monday, you get a call from her. Hello, honey. We are not moving with the current curtains in that house. So you say, is it not my project? How they come? It's not your project. That is what happens when your employees buy into your goal. And that discussion is important. So when you're having your general discussion, management has taken a call. The people in management goes to the next level below them and then cascades it to them, tells them what is the need, why they need to move on, and then all the way down. But when it is just thrown at you, my friend, your target this year is 1 billion. Don't ask me question. Better hit the road now. Say, I go hit road now. Now wait till I say I go bring, can't give you. And that's it. And that's the attitude. So it doesn't start at the performance appraisal. It's all a lot earlier. And then revamping compensation systems to be more personally rewarding employees. So you don't just lump all of us together. And there are some rewards and recognition that comes on the go. I did something to some of my team members, I think last year or so. We're having our annual, like AGM, something like that. We call it annual conference. And there was a prize award for HR. And because I was one anchoring the program, I saw my name there. And I'm like, why would you give the prize award of HR to the overall head of HR? There's nothing I can do without my people. So because I was doing that, by the time it was time to do the presentation of the HR, I had changed my name from 3 of my team members' names. And all the MDs, the group CEO, everybody turned around like, what's going on here? And those 3, I just invited them that they should come and serve at that event. So while they were serving, they were just hearing their names. And this is a conference of the entire leadership across Africa. And then they came out, shaking hands with everybody, snapping pictures. They came with a prize money of 150,000 naira. When they collected the money, it was shared between the 3 of them. They invited the entire department out for a movie nighttime out. What they did foster team bonding. Sacrifice 150,000 naira and one moment of fame. I'm not dragging shirts with them. The people I'm dragging shirts with is up there. Let it fly. So there's some reward you give them earlier in their career or earlier on in the process of watching them. And then I'll wrap up quickly around here. In performance management, like I've mentioned, feedback is raw data. Coaching, a coach does it, shows you how to do it, watches you doing it, and then makes you believe you can even do it better. When you get to the football field, the coach is the first to get on the field. Come on, everybody, give it to me. 1, 2, 1, 2. What's he doing? He's doing it. Then you all join him. 1, 2, 1, 2. At a point in time, he stops. And then he's still saying the 1, 2, 1, 2. And then he tells you, higher. You can give it to me, higher. Give it to me, more, more, more. And then everybody's what? Energy. That's what a coach does. On the job too, that's what you do. You identify what your people can do. You show them how to do it first. And then you make them believe they can even get better at it. Counseling. Once you are somebody's manager, you are automatically a marriage counselor. You are a child expert. You are a traffic advisor. You are everything. You must read far and wide. Leadership brings on you responsibility. Go and ask the governor-elect. He's already overwhelmed. What some people are seeing is too much money. I don't know. My friend, the man is not thinking too much money now. Too much problem. Too much interest groups. Have you been reading the news? All he's thinking is, what did I enter like this? God help me. But that's it. So you must read far and wide so that you can advise all the people that work with you. They should be able to look up to you for inspiration. And then training, of course, which is to be able to hone their skills. So, lastly, leaders and HR professionals are reviewing the research and realities of today's performance. And so, ultimately, there's no one solution for what type of method to adopt. But the principles around measuring performance, aligning stakeholder interests, and then being able to achieve what the organization is looking for is how we can manage the dilemma around performance management. On that note, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me.
Now, so I'll take two questions quickly. Okay, please go straight to the, please, very brief.
Good afternoon. My question is, I'm fortunate to work for an organization where the MD values employees, or I just started working with them, and I was trying to build a performance management process. And he told me, Linda, I don't believe in performance appraisals. So I tried explaining to him, we can do quarterly, we can do. So he said, I don't believe in it. I worked in so many multinationals, and that performance appraisal is very subjective and doesn't work. So he said, go and think of a way to make it more objective. So I was talking about the real-time feedback that he said, you have to tell me the way it will work. I want to see the way it will work. So it's a bit of challenge for me. And in addition, you said that we should try and get to do other things apart from HR. I think I came in later when it started. So I've done my project plan on everything that I want to do, but my boss keeps saying something is missing. So I had to go back to go and think, and I came up with HR branding. I don't know if that works, but when I explained my idea behind it, he was like, okay, yeah, this is nice. So it is a way of creating advertisement for the organization through the HR activities through using the leveraging of the communications unit and all that. But I think the major concern for me is, how do I measure everything that I'm doing? And that performance management part, how do I get him to really believe that performance appraisal is important?
Okay. I think quickly I'll go to that first question. The first thing you want to have is, there needs to be a time where we all sit down and tell ourselves, this is what we want to do within the organization. And the owner of the business should be able to set the strategy. So what are we looking for? First, in financial terms, what is the sales we want to have? What is the profitability we are looking at? What is the growth strategy we have? So how many more branches do we want to have and all of that? What are other metrics? When all those metrics are clearly spelled out, maybe 4 or 5 blocks like that, you then begin to then break them down into what? The various strategic unit heads position to say, how does HR help us to be able to achieve this? So for HR to help us achieve this, we need this core number of people. We need to enhance the training capacity of our people. We need to do several other things. That helps you to then begin to write out all of your own program of actions. Off the back of that, you can then begin to set targets. And those targets are based on, when does the sales department need the sales guy? So they will need some people to come in the first quarter, the other to come in the second quarter, and all of that. How does that then impact your recruitment strategy? Your recruitment strategy then means that what? Each vacancy must be filled within 2 weeks of advertising the vacancy. So when you then want to measure yourself, it is, did we fill the vacancy within those 2 weeks? And in filling that vacancy, how much did we spend? Did we go through an agency? Did we leverage our internal skills to be able to do that? Because at what cost were we able to achieve that? So all of that helps you to then begin to drive out, okay, cost spent on recruitment, timeline for the recruitment. You are already giving yourself the metrics. And they do exactly the same thing across all the departments. When you then have all of those things clearly set out, which is what I call the key performance indicators, now the managers and their employees can then sit down on a weekly basis, daily basis, to evaluate how far they have gone. So you have 5 vacancies to fill within this quarter. You are already talking to your recruitment person, or if it's yourself doing it. So of all the 5 vacancies, how have I attracted people? Who am I talking to today? Who are we interviewing? And then you are setting all those schedules to ensure that you keep to the timeline. That is how to measure it. So that ultimately, the MD can see that everything we are tracking and we are doing is towards that initial goal. But if the initial goal is not set, then we are all just chasing shadows. Then on the other HR activity, you see, one thing I believe in is HR will do their job a lot better if they have shadow experiences in other departments. And that helps you to be able to see their world, understand how they think. So when you sit down to say, okay, sales guys, let me go with you guys on the field one of these days on just a job shadowing thing. And then you endure the kind of sun they go through. And then you endure what the marketing guys go through. And you have all those experiences. By the time you are coming up with policies, processes, and procedures, you will have taken all the input from those things. Because it's very easy for us to sit in an ivory tower and expect that things should just be done like this. But when you have had a field real-time experience, it helps you to be able to work. Bring all those learnings on board. So those are other kinds of projects that you can engage in. In my GE days, I used to go and I don't drink, but I hang out with all my field engineers. They drink, and after 1 or 2 bottles, those guys begin to tell you their mind. The one who is planning to leave, where he's going to, how much they are offering him, why they are upset with their manager. I get all of those inputs. I go back and sit with my manager, Jacqueline Field. I give her the download, and I tell her this is what I am thinking of us doing about it. And it works for us. We prevented the protest one in on air because we already had those things. So from all those little on-field experiences with people, we are able to better, effectively help the organization to grow. And that way, performance, employee engagement is all wrapped up together and we can deliver on it. I think.
Thank you very much.